In 2014, I had both of my dogs die within 3 months, 3 months to the day of each other, actually. And it was it was devastating. And I'm an animal communicator. And I know I talk to animals all the time, and they tell me all about the dying process. They tell me all about what they go through and how they feel about it. And yet it was still very hard. And one of the questions, because I shared with people and my people, I shared with them what happens and what I was going through, and I talked about it a lot. One of the questions that everybody asked me was, well, who was there to greet them? Who greeted Bella? Who greeted Kelso when they passed? Who greeted them in heaven? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, I see that you guys already are writing tons and tons of comments, which is awesome. I love that Lana's here. Good morning. And I will definitely get to your comments. Um, it's a hard subject. I actually have, so first of all, let me say this. We're doing Who Greets Your Pet in Heaven today. If you have a friend who's grieving, if you're worried about your own pet passing, this would be a good little video to share with them. So like it, please share it as well, because the more you share it, the more people get to see it, the more help it can give. Hi, Anna. Hi, guys. Sandra Daniels, hi. Okay, so it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal question that we're answering today, which I'm excited to do. Let me also say this as well. I want to know, and while I'm talking about this, you guys can type your comments in. What do you think happens? Who do you think is there to greet your pet when your pet crosses? So please put those in the comments, and I'll look through and see. Actually, even before I get to that, so write what you think happens in here. And I also have a special offer too. So I have an Animals and the Other Side ebook that I'm giving away with my Animals and the Other Side class that's coming up in December. So if you're interested in that, you can just type heaven in the comments, and you can learn about the class and get the free fast action bonus, which is the ebook. I've never done an ebook before, pretty excited about it. So you would just type in heaven in the comments to get that information. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to read through what you guys are saying about what you think happens when an animal crosses over into heaven, crosses over to the Rainbow Bridge, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to share with you what the animals have told me. And what the animals have told me is through my animal communication. It is not through what I've learned from a person. It's all from the animal. And actually, let me say this. I see a lot of you who are in my Be Open membership community are writing heaven, and that's awesome. But guys, you don't have to write heaven, because you get the class free if you're in Be Open. So Anna and some of the other ones who are writing it, don't do that. You get it free and Be Open. So you don't need to. But everybody else can write heaven and get the information about the class and the ebook. Okay, so we're going to start with Kathy. She says, I think my dad greets all of my animals that have passed. Yeah, a lot of people will come to me for reading, and they'll say, who was it? Was it my grandma? Was it my dad? Was it my brother? There's this idea that our deceased loved ones are going to kind of be waiting there with a sign, like when you get off the airport, like, hey, Bella, we're ready to meet you. So it makes sense to me, Kathy, that you would say that. Meg says, my son, who passed in 2016, let me know he greeted my Gabriel, who was killed on a highway in February 2018. Very cool. Very cool that your son let you know. I love, first of all, that you're talking with your son on the other side. And second of all, that he's giving you information like that. Terry says, Be Open rocks. yeah, it does. Be Open is my, I love it. Be Open is my membership community. If you want to join Be Open, you can go and join Be Open, and then you get that class in December free. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Robin says, I don't know who was there for my sweet boy, Zach. I'm going to help you understand that in a moment, Robin. Jane says, I think they are all still with us. Okay, cool, Jane. I like hearing how different people, my point of view on this is so skewed because I just talk to the animals and the animals tell me this whole thing about what's going on. So I love to hear from other people what they think goes on. Anna is one of my almost next month she'll become one of my practitioners. So Anna, hi, good to see you. She says she thinks it's family members who have passed and other animals. Awesome. And let's look through. Nancy says, I fully believe my brother greeted my Cairo. He loved her and passed a year earlier. I'm pretty psyched that I understood what a Y earlier meant. I think that means year. Laurie says, the animals, guides, and loved ones. Awesome. Awesome. So let's see. Oh, wow. Angela says, hi, my dog Lulu passed away last May. I would love to know who greeted her when she crossed over. Okay. So, and then Amy says, I was told they do visit, but they are busy doing other things. Yeah. So in my Animals on the Other Side class, I will absolutely talk about in December. I'll talk about what they do, what their day is like, how often they visit, how that all goes. So Amy, it's cool that you're wondering about that. That's one of the things that made me feel better when my Bella and Kelso passed, was me knowing what the animals were going through there. So we're going to go to Christine. Christine's in Be Open. I see her all the time. Hi, Christine. Okay. Family members that have passed or other animals that have passed before them, or if you've asked someone to be there for them, they are. I think my grandmother, my other dog, met my fur baby when she passed. Cool. I love reading this. And Micah, my cat Tiger, was in touch with his mom on the other side before his transition, so she must have been there to welcome Tiger. This is really cool. I like where you guys are all coming from on this. It's pretty exciting to me to see how each person is understanding what the animals are doing and who's where. I'm going to get way more into detail in it in my Animals on the Other Side class in December. So if you're interested in that, you want my Animals on the Other Side ebook with it, you can type in heaven. But I'm going to start talking for a moment about what the animals have told me. And I'm sorry, I'm getting this. You guys are doing so many different comments. It's awesome. So Pam says, hi, Danielle. So glad you're here for us. Help me discern between our animals' behavior or when they're ill, have had some visits from my past pets. So that's getting into more detail, Pam. So I'll definitely go more through that kind of information in the Animals on the Other Side class in December. I'm going to kind of stick to, because on Facebook, you got to be fast and quick. Everybody doesn't watch a big, long thing on Facebook. So I'm going to stick to what the animals have told me about the other side. So, K typed heaven. Yay. Awesome. What the animals have told me, it's kind of cool. What the animals have told me is that the way that it works when they come into their bodies, and this is interesting, they've talked to me about humans as well. When they come into their bodies in this lifetime, is that they're not fully here. And no are we. Neither are we. I know that sounds really crazy what I'm about to say, but this is how it works. I don't know how to describe it other than how the animals have shown me and told me. Imagine that the soul is this big kind of disco ball. And when we incarnate, or when animals incarnate, what happens is the light shines down from the disco ball down to earth, where the animal soul incarnates and our souls incarnate. But the main part of that soul is still back. We're going to call it heaven, just because the title of this is Who Greets Your Pet in Heaven. We're going to call it heaven. So what happens is, part of me is still back up in heaven, back up in spirit, back up in the universe. Same with the animal. So the quick an easy answer to this is everybody actually still greets the pet when the pet crosses over. And by this, I mean, when my Bella and Kelso crossed over in 2014, 3 months apart to the day from each other, the highest aspects of me were there to greet my animals. The highest aspects of my mom were there to greet the animals. So when somebody brings their animal to me and they say, all right, that my animal crossed over and I want to know who was there, I always had a really hard time answering this question, because I would be like, well, the animal's saying this person and that person. It was basically everybody. And until they explained to me the disco ball thing, which is that we're just kind of beaming down to have our physical lives and then we're coming back, but the majority of us is still here in spirit, in the spirit world, in heaven, whatever we're going to call it. Until I understood that, I always was like, I don't know what to tell you, because everybody you want to have been there, because the human is like, well, I want my grandmother to be there, my deceased dad, and until I understood that, it was a very hard question for me to answer, because it felt like I was just making everybody happy by saying this. But it's not the case. What it is that we're really all still there. I'm not fully 100%. My soul is not 100% here. It is also elsewhere. It is also in spirit. It is also attached to God, the universe, spirit, all of that. So when you're, oh, I hope so-and-so was there. I hope my grandma, I hope my so-and-so was there to greet. Well, know that, of course, they were, but so were you. It's kind of like a returning home. And I'm going to talk a lot about how animals, in my Animals on the Other Side class in December, I'm going to talk a lot about how animals actually view the dying process. But know that when they go to the Rainbow Bridge, when they do this piece, and everybody knows about the Rainbow Bridge, it's a poem someone wrote. There's not actually a rainbow bridge, but it's, animal heaven, soul heaven, whatever you want to call it. When they actually go there, it's returning back to where everybody really is. So let's see. Terry says, how awesome. Cool. Jody says, that totally makes sense. Julie says, I love that. My cat, who I'd been separated from, came to me when he passed. Hey, Julie, nice to meet you. I know you just joined Be Open a few days ago. So hi, glad to have you here. Let's see. All right, you guys are liking this. Do you have questions about this? Let me know if you have a question about it. So let's go to Tina. Tina says, I lost my fur baby 4 years ago. I still feel guilty that I may have let her go before she was ready. My heart is still broken. All right. So yeah, in my Animals on the Other Side class in December, the one that I'm saying type heaven for to find out more about, in that class, I am absolutely going to talk about the idea of euthanasia and how animals feel about it, and how animals look at their dying and their what that process is, and the guilt. Oh, the guilt is so big, especially around the holidays. So Tina, I will totally help you with that in that class. It's kind of out of the scope of where we are right now, but I send you love, and know that your animals are still hanging around. We'll talk about that as well. I know my Bella and Kelso are still around, not just because I'm psychic, not just because I can do animal communication, but because I learned how to pick up the messages. And that's something else I'll do in the class as well. So let's see. Oh, Julie says, hi. Hi. All right. So I'm going to finish up now. Put heaven in the comments if you're interested in my Animals on the Other Side ebook, and if you're interested in the class in December. I hope this answered your question about who greets my pet in heaven. The answer is everybody. We all do. The whole family. So that's it. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.